See this newspaper? Is it an advertisement? And in fact, when you log on to Google or Amazon and look for something, do you know when you're looking at an ad and when it's not an ad? How do you spot an advertisement? Because these days it's difficult sometimes. That's the focus on Media Buddhi today. Hi, I'm HR Venkatesh. Advertising has sustained the media for decades and decades. And to be honest, advertising by itself is not a problem. Yes, too many ads can be very, very annoying. Imagine losing the first ball of an over in a cricket match because the broadcaster cut away from the ad too late. That's very irritating, right? And imagine looking at an article on your mobile phone and then trying to get rid of the X mark because there's an ad that's right in the middle of the article. Intrusive advertising, yes, that's a big pain. But it's not really an issue because you know that it is an ad. What I'm going to focus on now is the case when an advertisement does not look or behave like an advertisement, and there are plenty of examples of those. Let's start with the newspaper, The Times of India. This is the front page and it says The Times of India and it says established 1898, and it looks like the front page of a newspaper, right? But look carefully, it's all in black and white and it's pretty clear that the headlines look a little weird, and you see that it's an ad for an automobile company. The entire front page is actually an ad for an automobile company, and it's taken a snapshot from the archives of the ad. Now, this is not so complicated because in the end you do know that it is an ad. But what about the supplement of the Times of India? Let's say the Delhi Times, because I'm here in Delhi. It could be the Bombay Times or Bangalore Times or whichever city you're in. What about this? It looks like all stories. The back page is also stories mostly. There are no ads that you can see. These don't look like advertisements, right? Yet, if you look very carefully, at the top right corner, it will say advertorial entertainment industry promotional feature. What this means is that this entire newspaper, these stories, they're all paid for. The people who have been featured in these stories, they've paid for it. So it's an advertisement. So that's the thing, right? With a newspaper like this, the main paper is not an ad, and the ads that you see are pretty clear that it's an ad, but the entire city supplement functions as a big giant advertisement. And this is what is so confusing about the landscape. Now here's another example. Let's say you're looking for something on Amazon or Google. Let's say you type in air conditioner or washing machine. The first hit in your search will inevitably be an ad, except that it will clearly say that it is sponsored. So in the end, even though you think it's the search result, it's actually a sponsored ad, it's an advertisement. You know that it's an advertisement, unlike the supplement of the newspaper. The biggest challenge though are advertisements that look like journalism or they look like editorial content. These ads are called native advertisements. I mean, there are other names and we'll come to those names in a moment, but the whole point of native advertising is that it is supposed to look like editorial. It's supposed to look like journalism. It looks supposed to look like content. But unlike advertisements, native advertisements fetch more money, especially online. And that's why you have native advertisements. Advertisers say that it does not work if people spot very easily that it's an ad. Now this is a new thing relatively because journalism organizations used to have what are known as Chinese walls. In fact, many journalism organizations still have them. What is a Chinese wall? It basically meant that journalists and editorial staff sat in a different office, a different floor, a different city from advertising, sales and marketing stuff. And the idea is that one would not influence the other. But of course, this was all before technology disrupted journalism, disrupted business models so badly that journalism organizations had to evolve a different way to earn money, to just pay for regular journalism. And that's how the native ad was born. Now, as I said, there are different names for native advertising. You have what is known as sponsored content or branded content. All of this kind of means native advertising. Some people say there are differences and they point out the differences. We'll come to that as well. But by and large, they are used interchangeably. There are other words as well. Partner content. promotional feature. It just seems like each newspaper or media organization has its own name for the native advertisement. Whatever they're called though, there are basically three types of native ads or native content. The first type of native advertising includes advertisements that are created not by the ad agencies, but by the media organizations or journalism organizations. BuzzFeed was a big exponent of this because traditionally it's the ad agency that creates ads. But the whole point was BuzzFeed and other organizations would say, hey, let's create ads that are created by editorial people because then it will look like an editorial and only we editorial people know how to create such ads. So pay us money and we'll create these ads for you. Usually these ads are created by journalists, yes, but sitting in a different division, as was the case with BuzzFeed, the New York Times, pretty much every major and minor journalism organization in the world. The second type of native ad is an ad that has been created by a journalistic organization. It is journalistic in nature, but it's been created in consultation with a brand or an advertiser. Let's say a solar company wants to create a series of articles on climate change. So the media company will create these articles which are journalistic in content, and of course it will be connected to the solar company. So that way the solar company also gets a lot of brand recall value. And finally, the third type of native ad is basically journalistic content that has been created entirely by journalists with no interference whatsoever by the advertiser. It's just that the advertiser gets a little bit of space saying they've sponsored this story, but it's completely created by the journalist and there are no strictures or no instructions. Of course, any kind of native ad works for only some types of journalism. Investigative journalism, native ads, they don't seem to fit very well. And this third variety is sometimes known as sponsored content. And of course, as I said, each publisher will use a different kind of name for this kind of content. At a time of fake news though, native advertising is not a great idea. As it is, people don't seem to trust mainstream media. Now you have native advertising. That's a real tragedy. But native advertising is here to stay. It is helping pay for real journalism. And I think we've got to make our peace with it. And just learn to expect what you're going to see when next time you log onto a website or you look at a newspaper or anything else on social media, for example. Because the native advertisement, as I said, is here to stay. And our job as viewers and readers is just to keep our eyes peeled. That's all for now on Media Buddhi. We'll see you next week.